Hold on. Before we get into anything else, let's do that prepared statement that we talked about.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
Together.
Sure, of course.
Here at the Nice But Feisty Show, we will not engage in voter shaming.
It is up to you in how you would like to engage in the political process.
Whether you choose to vote for the two major parties, or whether you choose to vote a third party, which there are several. Or if you choose not to vote at all, it is totally up to you. Our job is to present the facts as they have been presented to the public. You are responsible for your own decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's nice, ain't it?
Yeah, it was a little
I like
tinge
that. We should do that
Just
more.
a smidge, we gotta get it.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, all right. You already know whose turn it is to go first this week, hunty. And I told you I'm not gonna let up off this lady until she's convicted. Okay, so my first article is talking about Ghislane Maxwell. This comes from the Miami Herald and it's entitled, "Prosecutors Suggest More Charges Could Be Coming in Epstein-Maxwell Investigation." There could be more charges coming related to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein's alleged sexual abuse of dozens of girls and young women. In a filing Friday, federal prosecutors indicated that the federal grand jury investigation into Epstein, his alleged madam, Ghislane Maxwell, and their potential co-conspirators remains active. Maxwell was charged in July in the Southern District of New York with 4 counts of sexual trafficking of a minor related to alleged recruiting and grooming 3 girls between 1994 and 1997 for Epstein to abuse. She is accused of participating in the abuse of one of the girls. Maxwell is seeking to use what her lawyers have described as critical new information that they obtained from the government in the criminal case to block the release of her 2016 deposition from a separate federal defamation suit that was brought by Virginia Giuffre, an alleged victim of Epstein and Maxwell in 2015. The suit was settled in 2017, but the Miami Herald and others have fought to have materials from the case unsealed, arguing that they should have been made public in the first place, which is actually true. Once a case is actually closed, usually the filings become public, unless it deals with, for instance, in this case, they probably had it sealed because she was underage. But at the time of her case, she wasn't underage, so I don't really understand why the case was sealed. So that's a little odd. So unless the case was still pending, or if there were still, further rulings that need to have been done on this case, it should technically really already be public. But I digress. Let me continue. Federal prosecutors argue in the filing Friday if Maxwell gains permission to release the information she'd like to put forth, it would jeopardize their ongoing investigation. It isn't clear whether the investigation could potentially lead to more charges against Maxwell, charges against Epstein and other alleged schedulers and handlers, or prosecution of high-profile friends of the multimillionaire. As the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York has stated publicly, the investigation into the conduct of the defendant in this case and other possible co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein remains active, prosecutors wrote. The full scope and details of the investigation, however, have not been made public. David S. Weinstein, a former federal prosecutor, said it's uncommon for a grand jury to continue to be active in complex cases even after charges have been brought against some of the targets. Just because you indict the 2 people at the top of the conspiracy doesn't mean you stop looking at other people, Weinstein said. Epstein's sexual abuse was the subject of the Miami Herald's investigation, Perversion of Justice, which examined the extraordinary lenient sentence Epstein received in 2008 in Florida. The renewed scrutiny of Epstein led federal prosecutors in New York's Southern District to bring new sex charges against him last July. He was found dead in his cell. Again, pause. Skirt, skirt. I don't think he's dead. And if he is dead, he was murdered. Okay. I just want to put it out there again. Anyway. He was found dead in his prison cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center 1 month later, the day after thousands of pages were unsealed in Maxwell's suit, detailing her alleged role in the recruiting and grooming girls for Epstein and their famous friends. Giuffre has said that Maxwell recruited her in 2000 around the time of her 17th birthday, when Giuffre was working as a spa assistant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club. Giuffre has said that she was abused by Epstein and directed by Maxwell and Epstein to have sex with a number of their famous friends, including Prince Andrew, former U.S. Senator George Mitchell, former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, and attorney Alan Dershowitz, among others. All the men have denied the claims, and Dershowitz and Giuffre have each filed defamation suits against each other. The prosecutors also revealed Friday how they had obtained Maxwell's deposition in the civil suit, which they used to bring 2 criminal charges of perjury against Maxwell. Maxwell's lawyers have suggested that Giuffre's lawyers provided the deposition to federal prosecutors in violation of a protective order in the civil case. But the prosecutors wrote Friday that they had obtained Maxwell's deposition after applying for permission from 2 courts to allow a recipient to turn the material over. One of the 2 courts granted permission while the other didn't. Prosecutors did not notify Maxwell that they were seeking the material. This is how the grand jury subpoenas and investigations frequently work, prosecutors wrote. Defense counsel's overheated rhetoric notwithstanding, there is simply nothing nefarious about the government obtaining materials through grand jury subpoena process, let alone anything about the manner in which the government obtained the materials that warrants the relief request. So here it is now. The rich and famous don't like to be brought to account. That is very clear in this case. And it seems like to me, they're going to try to do everything in their power to maneuver around this whole thing. But the fact of the matter is, y'all did the crime. Now it's time for you to do the time. Because that's what you tell everybody else. If you did the crime, do the time. You leave that to what? The poor people, middle class people. If we commit a crime, then we need to automatically go to jail. Don't collect $200. But your ass don't need to go to jail. Fuck out of here. Anyway, let me finish. It would be grossly inappropriate for defense counsel to be permitted to sift through the criminal case discovery and cherry pick materials that they may believe could provide some advantage in their efforts to defend against the accusation of abuse by victim plaintiffs. Delay court order disclosure of previous sealed materials or any other legal effort the defendant may be undertaking at a particular time, the prosecutors wrote. So basically what they're saying is, don't sit there and try to take out evidence. Y'all know that in discovery, you're supposed to turn over everything. So do that. Or you might find some other charges against you. So anywho, that's my first article. I ain't mean for this thing to go so damn long, because I have another article, and like I said in the intro, we are not in the business of voter shaming. It is our, explicit and, intent to give the information and the facts that are presented, to the public. And we basically just, as you listen to us, thank you. We're just presenting those facts. It's not our job to tell you what to think. It is our job to present you with the facts, and you decide what you want to think about a certain person or whatever the case may be. Yes, we have our commentary. Yes, we have our opinions, but that's what it is. Everybody got opinions. Everybody got comments. So leave yours in the down at the bottom and let me know what you think about this. You know, because I'm on the side of, if you a pedophile, your ass need to go to jail. You better be glad that people haven't decided that you need a harsher sentence for messing with little children. But I'm just saying. So, like I said, I have another article. I know some people out there gonna be really mad at me on this one, but honey, like I said, I'm not voter shaming. I don't care who you vote for, frankly, because all of it's a shit show to me. But for those of you who are considering the Democratic ticket, I told y'all I wasn't going to knowingly support pedophiles or people that abuse children, especially in that way. And I'm not going to knowingly defend or support people that help those people continue to do what they do, which is abusing children. So here's the next article. Here we go. Like I said, y'all are not going to like this. And I'm sorry to even have to bring this up to you guys, but y'all need to know in whom you are supporting. Regardless, I've pretty much been an independent voter all of my, adult life since I could vote. And I'm not going to vote against my own interests. Just not going to happen. And not only that, I'm not going to vote for someone who, again, like I said, I am not going to knowingly help pedophiles or people that abuse children, especially in a sexual way. And I'm not going to support people that continue to allow pedophiles to continue in that vein. I'm just not. So, for all of y'all that may get offended, the truth, unfortunately, is bigger than your feelings. Y'all need to know the truth. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I'm offering you is the truth. And if you want to go research it and debunk me, please, by all means, put that shit in the comments. Okay? Put it in the comments. All right, here we go. This article is from The Intercept. Okay? And it is entitled, as San Francisco District Attorney Kamala Harris's office stopped cooperating with victims of Catholic Church child abuse. Kamala Harris, surrounded by thousands of cheering supporters, kicked off her presidential campaign in Oakland. This is an older article, so excuse the timing of it. But it's still relevant because this goes to her record. The record that she says she's so proud of. Anyway. Declaring that she has always fought on behalf of survivors of sexual assault, a fight not just against predators, but a fight against silence and stigma. Fighting on behalf of victims of sexual abuse, particularly children, has been central to Harris's political identity for the better part of 3 decades. Harris specialized in prosecuting sex crimes and child exploitation as a young prosecutor out of law school. She later touted her record on sex abuse cases and prosecuting pedophiles in television advertisements, splashy profiles, and on the trail as she campaigned for public office. But when it came to taking on the Catholic Church, survivors of the clergy sexual abuse say Harris turned a blind eye, refusing to take action against clergy members accused of sexually abusing children when it meant confronting one of the city's most powerful political institutions. When Harris became San Francisco's district attorney in 2004, she took over an office that had been working closely with survivors of sexual abuse to pursue cases against the Catholic Church. The office and the survivors were in the middle of a legal battle to hold predatory priests accountable. And Harris inherited a collection of personal files involving alleged allegations of sexual abuse by priests and employees of the San Francisco Archdiocese, which oversees church operations in San Francisco and Marin and San Mateo counties. The files had been compiled by investigators working under the direction of Terrence Hallinan, a radical district attorney who Harris ousted in a contentious election campaign. Hallinan's team had prosecuted cases of abuse that had occurred decades earlier and had gathered evidence as a part of a probe into widespread clergy sexual misconduct. Just 6 months before Harris took office, a Supreme Court decision overturned a California office that had retroactively eliminated the statute of limitation for crime prosecution of child molestation cases. That shifted the focus to holding predators among the clergy accountable through civil cases and through a broader effort to bring attention to predators who had been shielded by the church. Hallinan believed that the clergy abuse files were a matter of public record. Harris refused to release them to the public. In her 7 years of district attorney, Harris's office did not proactively assist in the civil cases against clergy sex abuse and ignored requests by activists and survivors to access the cache of investigative files that could have helped them secure justice, according to several victims of clergy sex abuse living in California who spoke to The Intercept. It went from Terrence Hallinan going 100 miles an hour full speed ahead after the Catholic Church to Kamala Harris doing absolutely nothing and taking it backwards 100 miles an hour. Said Joey, I'm going to jack up your name, I'm sorry Joey, Pistatelli. I hope I said that right. A sexual abuse survivor who a jury found had been molested as a student while attending the Salesians College Preparatory, a Catholic high school in Richmond, California. Piscatelli, again, I'm sorry if I jacked your name up, I'm sorry, had met with Hallinan's office to discuss his case and ongoing investigation into the church, but he said when Harris took over, his access to the office was shut off and his requests for clergy abuse files were ignored. Pistatelli resorted to handing out flyers and picketing outside the district attorney's office on San Francisco's McAllister Street. Dominique DeLuca, I'm not even gonna try that city. It's in California. Anyway, a resident says he was raped by a local priest when he was 12 years old and also said he was shocked that Harris declined to aggressively pursue clergy abuse cases and refused to release the files. I remember Kamala Harris said DeLuca she didn't want to have any meetings he went on. She wanted the public to think that this is an issue that happened years ago, that it doesn't happen anymore. Let's just move on. Then there's another guy, his name is Terrence, also a resident in California of Nevada City. He said he was raped as a child by a San Francisco priest. And it goes on and jeez Louise. Anyway, I'm gonna like I said, I didn't want this video to go super long. I'm gonna put both links in the description. Like I said, I'm not gonna judge you for however you vote. That's you, between you, your conscience, and whoever you call is your higher power. That's you. So I ain't no judgment here. I'm just presenting the facts to you and you make up your own mind what you want to do. That's all. All right, take it away, girly. You know I love you. Bye. Well, it's finally gotten to me and I am going to narrow it down. I actually only have one article that I'm going to address and she calls me long-winded. At any rate, this article comes from the Washington Post and it is entitled "Police Use Tear Gas on Hundreds Protesting Jacob Blake's Shooting in Kenosha." And that's in Wisconsin. I actually have family in Wisconsin, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, So here's the article. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Monday, one day after Jacob Blake, 29, was shot multiple times in the back by police while getting into a car with his children inside. What started as a peaceful demonstration swiftly evolved into chaos. When at 8 p.m. curfew arrived, law enforcement unleashed tear gas in front of the county's courthouse, and the crowd responded by throwing firecrackers, tearing down street signs, smashing storefronts, and setting fire around the city. I don't think people should destroy anything, but the cops need to work for their money, said Randall Gordon, 26, who is black and lives in Kenosha. Gordon said he was a victim of police brutality in his hometown when he was much younger. There needs to be social reform in this city. After the Sunday afternoon shooting, the latest incident of police violence against a black man caught on video, the officers involved were placed on leave in the Wisconsin Department of Justice stepped in to investigate. Blake survived surgeries and in serious condition, his family said on Monday. On Monday evening, a group of a few hundred demonstrators gathered in the square outside of the Kenosha County Courthouse, and around 6 p.m., the scene was peaceful with the crowd chanting and holding signs. But as the citywide curfew neared, sheriff's deputies appeared in riot gear and lined the sidewalk in front of the courthouse. At 8 p.m., when the curfew began, 2 military vehicles rolled to the corner of the square as police told the crowd to disperse. When the crowd didn't budge, police unleashed tear gas. Police unleashed tear gas as some protesters hurled full water bottles toward the police and set off firecrackers. After 9 p.m., the crowd had nearly tripled, with more than 1,000 people gathered in the park surrounded by government buildings with boarded-up windows, including the courthouse. The police, who were not patrolling the streets and seemed to be only protecting the courthouse, began shooting beanbags at the crowd and projecting ear-deafening audio to get people to move out of the park. Luna, 23, a former certified nursing assistant from Waukesha, from Waukesha, Wisconsin, who was volunteering as a medic at the protest, was hit by one of the beanbags, which are about the size of a silver dollar. Her backpack, which she had strapped to her chest, protected her from the blow. "There's no need to shoot us," said Luna, who spoke on the condition of not sharing her last name. Obviously, this is an expression of pain. People are expressing grief and anger about what happened to Jacob Blake. By 10 p.m., the crowd had moved out of the square and headed south on Sheridan Road, some leaving destruction in their wake by smashing street lights and ripping down street signs. Car windows were broken at one dealership and fires were set elsewhere. There remains no visible police presence outside the court area, although Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, Democrat, mobilized the National Guard on Monday to assist the city. The troops have not visibly been involved in the policing unrest. So I will leave that article in the description. Please let me know what you think. Personally, shooting a person in the back is an act of cowardice. I don't care what that officer was thinking at the time. The man was in a state of retreat. When somebody turns their back and they're walking away from you, they are no longer a threat. So the whole, I felt, threatened with my life. People saw him walking away from you. He was no longer a threat to you. So you cannot use that argument. This is plain and simple police brutality, and this is unchecked violence on the hands of police, and that is not okay. That is not okay. And the whoever it is that is conducting this investigation, the fact of the matter is, when you saw that video and you saw what that officer did, you should have immediately fired him, because that civilian was no longer a threat to him. And frankly, it seems like to me that that officer just felt like shooting someone, regardless if somebody was getting at him or retreating the other way. And it's not okay. It's just not okay. At any rate, please, you guys, let me know what you think down in the bottom comments. If you agree on the officer, taking his authority and pushing it a little too far, please let me know. Or if you disagree and think that I don't know how you would think that, but if you thought that the officer was justified in shooting a man in the back, let me know that as well. At any rate, thanks so much for tuning into another episode of Nice But Feisty. Bye. Well, thanks so much for tuning into another episode of Nice But Feisty with Mandi Nice and Tasha Feisty. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Have a good one. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And share the video. You heard.